Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today it is going to be all about brows. I have actually been working on this video for a while now and I am finally here to share this video with you guys, and I am going to be going through all of the brow pens that are out on the market. Well, not all of them, but a lot of the brow pens that are out on the market. Some new releases, some have been out on the market for a while. We're going to be doing the Brow Pen Showdown, where I am going to demo each one of these for you, show you guys how they work, show you how it applies. And majority of these, I have a few shades in them, so you can see some of the difference in shades. So this video might be a little bit longer, so for your convenience, I will leave a timestamp in the description box down below and also on the time bar, so you guys can jump ahead to the brow pen that you're most interested in. But I wanted to kind of just throw them all into one video, show you guys the differences between these pens, how they work, how they perform, what the shades are. Now, I am very experienced in brow pens. I've been using a brow pen for a while now. I would probably say maybe a year and a half. I started using the MAC Shape and Shade Brow Tint, and that was my first experience with a brow pen. And it kind of started my journey of really loving the way that brow pens work and the convenience of them. For me, I don't have the best brows, and I've been trying to grow them out, which is a whole other story. I have always loved brow pens because they're so much easier. They kind of give you that microbladed look without having to go through the pain. I'm very experienced with brow pens, how they work, what I like about them, what I don't like about a certain formula. I'm very experienced. It's not like this is like my first time ever using a brow pen. I've been using them for a while now, so I really understand how they work and how they should perform, what I like about certain types and what I don't like about certain types. So we're going to get into all of that during each tutorial, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to go through each one and tell you what I like and what I don't like, and which ones are my favorite of the ones that I'm testing in this video. So let's jump into which ones we're going to be testing out today. So we're going to be testing out the Glossier Brow Flicks, and we're going to be talking about the Urban Decay Brow Blades and the Lime Crime Bushy Brow Precision Pens. I have one in each shade. And also the newest launches are from Benefit. This is called the Brow Micro Filling Pens, and this one is a little bit different. The other ones that I've mentioned just have one little pen at the bottom, so I'll show you the difference between these two. See how the purple one just has one little single blade at the bottom? The silver one, the Benefit one, has the three little prongs there on the tip. So this one gives you 3 hair strokes in one. And then we also have this one from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is called the Brow Pen. So these just launched and I wanted to give them a try, kind of give you my experience and share my thoughts on the formula, the blade, how it works, how long it lasts, and also going into kind of detail about the shades. The shades are really, really important when it comes to these markers and the way that they match your brows. You don't want to go too dark, but you want to be dark enough where it shows up and gives you that hair stroke. So I'm going to get into all of that later on in the video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the tutorials of me using each one of these brow blades, and then we will get into my full thoughts on each one of them. So without further ado, let's jump into the tutorials. So I'm going to show you how I prep my brows first, and then I go in with a brow pen. Because I apply my foundation first and then I do my brows, sometimes I will get foundation around my brows. It just kind of is what it is. So I will go in with a lightweight brow gel. The one I really like is from Billion Dollar Brows. This one has been really good. Just go in and just comb it through and kind of place them where I want them. Now, the reason why I do it with the lightweight brow gel is because when I get done with them, I will go in with the 24-hour brow setter. This has been the best brow setter I have ever used. I don't think anything holds my brows like the brow setter from Benefit. So that is the final step. Now, the reason why I go in with a brow gel first kind of thickens them up a little bit, and you can kind of see where you need to fill in. Because I have sparse brows, if they're all laid out this way, it's hard for me to see where I want to put the product. The reason why I go in with a brow setter after that is because I'm running a spoolie through them, and so by running the spoolie through them, I need to reset them again with the final step. The next step I take is going and kind of carve them out. I have been using this from Nars. This is actually the Soft Matte Complete Concealer. I've actually kind of enjoyed this. I used to use the P. Louise base, which I still do like this. This is kind of more of a concealer base. I like this because it's more of a matte. It kind of gives you that soft matte. What I do is I take a flat tip brush and I just dip my brush in like this on both sides. So I kind of place that real close to that line. And it will just kind of highlight the brow. And I'll switch to a brush that's like this. This is actually from Sephora. They don't sell it anymore, which is kind of ridiculous. This is such a good brush. This is the Sephora Pro Contour Highlight Brush, the number 80. I like to go in with a pencil just to kind of give me a little bit of a base. Now I have tons of pencils that I absolutely love. One of them is the Urban Decay Precisely My Brow. This is a really good one. I actually use this one in shade 4. I also have it in shade 3.5. I also have loved the one from Dior. This one is the Brow Styler. It's in Universal Brown. I think this one only comes in one shade. This one is really good as well. So today I'm just going to use the Precisely My Brow. I'm using shade 4. And what I like to do is just bring it right here along the bottom, just to kind of make sure that I have that line nice and carved out. I don't actually use too much of a pencil anymore. Like I'm really loving the pens. So I use the pens for 99% of my brow. So then I will take the spoolie and kind of run that color through the brow. And that's what I'm saying. That brow gel has already kind of set and thickened up. So when you go in with a spoolie, they kind of get a little thick and it makes them feel and look a little bit fuller. So that's as far as I go with priming it and getting them ready to go in with my actual brow product. Okay, so the first product we're going to talk about are the Glossier. These are the brow flicks. The problem with this product is it only comes in 3 shades. So I have the shade brown and I have the shade blonde. The brown is too dark in my front area. I use the dark one as I go out further along the arch, and then I use the blonde to kind of create a few hair strokes right here in the front. It's got a nice fine tip on it. At the end of the video, I will take a picture of all of the tips of all the products that I discuss in today's video, so you can see the difference in tip. I will say though, the finer the tip, the better your brows will look. And I'm going in the direction of the actual hairs that I have. So I'm just filling in some of those sparse areas, but not being like too precise about it. I'm just making these little teeny strokes. Sometimes I don't like to use a lot of the dark because it'll make my brows look too dark. So I only go in with a little bit of the dark just to give the definition. I am going to use the blonde to kind of make little hair strokes this way, kind of switching directions here. I'm going to take the blonde and just create a few strokes right here in the front. This takes me a minute because I am definitely not a brow expert. So this takes me a minute to make sure that I get it exactly where I want it, to where it looks kind of realistic, the best that we can get it. So this brow is pretty well done. So now what I like to do is I like to take the 24-hour brow setter. Then I like to run this through and it sets them in place. And then I take the tip of the brush and kind of go like this, just to give it that natural angle. Brows are just so hard for me. I see so many people just throw brows on and it looks so good and I'm so jealous. I struggle with my brows. I really do. Okay, so let's get into the pros and cons of the Glossier. Number 1, I don't like that they have 3 shades. With that, The blonde is kind of dark. So let me show you what the blonde looks like next to the dark. So this is the blonde, which the only difference between the blonde and the brown is the blonde is a little warmer, as you can see. They're kind of the same. I haven't really had an issue with them drying up on me. I've been using the Glossier pen for a while. I would say 6 months maybe, and I haven't had any problems with them drying up. Now, I don't use them every day because I am kind of going back and forth. The positives is I love the tip on it. The tip is perfect. It's small enough to just give you that nice brow shape and that nice brow hair. Another thing that I like about it is that it doesn't bleed. There are some formulas that I will get into that do bleed, and you have to be very, very careful with that, and I don't like that. So that's the 411 on the Glossier, and let's go ahead and jump into the next brow product that I am testing for you guys. Okay, so let's jump into our next brow product. Of course, I've already prepped like I did in the prep part of the video, and I have 2 of these pens. These are the new brow micro filling pens from Benefit. I have 2 shades in this. I have medium brown and light brown. This one right here is the medium brown, and this is the light brown. They are almost identical. The only difference is the medium brown's a little bit warmer, and this is a little bit more of like a taupe cool tone, but not much. There's not much differences between these 2 colors. I'm going to use the medium brown on this part of my brow, and then I'm going to use the light brown on the inner part just to kind of keep it light in that area. What I've noticed with this pen is that it's all about the angle. You have to have the right angle with this. If you don't, it will not look good. It will just look like a big marker mess. So what I like to do is I like to go in and kind of map out where I'm going to put it before I start touching my skin with it. So like, for example, right here, I want to build an arch. So I'm going to tip the brush up, lay it flat, and I'm just going to go in and just make little teeny marks like this. All about the angle. Make sure you got the angle right before you press down. You don't want it to just all run together. That's what you'll run into if you're not careful. I'm just going to a little bit right here. Now I want to make like a few single strokes here. So what I like to do is just tip the brush like this so that I'm only using this longest point. I'm going to use the long tip to create 1 single stroke instead of 3, if that makes sense. So I'm going to leave that alone and let it dry. I'm going to take the light brown and do the exact same thing, but I'm going to start this way and move forward. So I'm just going to make little marks like this. Okay, so you will notice that the light brown really doesn't give me the 3 lines. And so that's kind of the problem with these pens, is that it's hard to get the 3 lines to show up because it kind of like they're so small. I don't know. I don't know. I don't love this pen. It's not my favorite. So because the light brown really didn't give me much in the front, I'm going to move to the medium brown. And I think for my front pieces, I prefer a single stroke pen. I feel like if I went in with either the Glossier or something, it's a little bit harder for me to make those 3 strokes. So I feel like on the arch area and on the tip of the brow, I feel like this works pretty well because it's almost like you can cover more canvas quicker. It's like you can, you know, really put it on and really get the right shape. And I think this looks really pretty and kind of natural. But in the front, it's a little bit harder to do. I'm going to tip the brush like this and just use the 1 long point to try to make a few single hair strokes. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. So this is the 2nd or 3rd time I've used this pen. It's been my experience it lasts long. I haven't had any issues with it kind of moving around or you know, fading throughout the day. So I went ahead and finished them up. Now, I will just say this. I had to go in with the blonde brow flick from Glossier just to kind of fix the front. I really like these pens, but I don't really love it here in the front for my brows personally. You know, we all have different brow styles and shapes. I think this is a decent formula, and I think it might work for you in the front of your brow. It just didn't work for me personally, but I really love the way that it gave, you know, just a nice shape, a nice clean shape. So that's it. That's my thoughts on the Benefit Brow Microfilling Pen. Let's go ahead and jump in to the next brow product. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next product that I'm going to be testing out for you guys and giving my thoughts on. This is the Brow Blade from Urban Decay. Now, this has been one of my favorites since it came out. There's several reasons why I like this. There's a few cons with this, which I will get into. Now, I wear this in the shade Taupe Trap, which is one of the lighter shades, but for me, it's darker. So they actually have 9 shades in this, which is really awesome. Taupe Trap is just a universal shade. Pro with this is I love the tip on this. The tip on this is one of my favorites. And it's longer, but very, very thin. And you can just really make natural hair strokes with this. I've really enjoyed this since I got it. The negative is that it does have a pencil, and I don't really love the pencil. Because the pencil is so light that I don't really notice it. Like I could use this pencil if I wanted to, but it really doesn't show up on my brows that much. I see why they gave you 2 options. Both of these, you know, you have the waterproof pencil and then you have the ink stain on the other side. If you find the right shade for you that works good in the pencil and the ink stain, I think you're fine. For me, I don't use the pencil in this. I only use the ink stain. However, I feel like it's still worth it because I really do love the formula and I love the tip on this. I like to do it just like I did in yesterday's video. I just start kind of creating little small hair strokes, but I do love this color. This is the color that I feel like matches me the best because it's not too dark and not too bold. I will say too, it's been my experience with the pencil that you can't open it up too far because if you do, it breaks off. It's a drier formula, so just be careful if you do decide to use it. It's a drier formula and it breaks off, and it's already broke on me twice just swatching it here. So keep that in mind. So this is the actual pencil itself, and this is the color of the blade. So it actually works pretty good. It's a really pretty shade. Now, when I'm doing my brows, I always keep this brush handy. This is the brush that I went into the Nars and kind of carved out my brows. I always keep this brush handy because I will use it, you know, if I get it up too high, I can kind of push it down, and I will use it to kind of correct mistakes that I made. So that's always a nice tip too. Okay, so I just finished with my brows, and I wanted to mention one thing that I had kind of forgotten about because this has been a minute since I've used these. I've been kind of playing around with so many of these others that, you know, it's been a minute since I've used this. The pen, if you have it down too long, it will almost like build up at the tip, and then when you go to make the mark, it'll be too thick. I don't know that I've really experienced that with the others, but I had forgot that that pen does that. So I wanted to mention that. So that's it for the tutorial with the Urban Decay. Let's go ahead and jump in to the next brow product. Okay, so let's start with the next brow product. Today I'm going to be talking about Lime Crime. Now, they have these pens that are called Bushy Brow. These retail for $20, and there are 5 shades that you can choose from. So I have 3 of the 5 shades. These are the 3 shades. So this is Dirty Blonde, this is Baby Brown, and this is Brown. Dirty Blonde is definitely a little more ashy. Baby Brown is definitely more warm. And then Brown is just kind of an even tone. I usually don't use the Dirty Blonde. I actually bought that one for my daughter. But I do use Baby Brown and Brown. So Baby Brown I will use kind of right here in the front. And then I will use Brown along the arch. So I'm going to go ahead and start just making these natural hair strokes. And then I go in with a spoolie and kind of comb it out. Now that one looks really natural and it was very easy to do. So I'm going to bring a little bit right here towards the arch. And I actually really like this shade. This shade is a good shade for me for the arch area. Okay, now I'm going to switch and move on to the baby brown. I really love this shade for the front. I really do. It's actually my favorite of all of the pens that I have. That color is my favorite for the front because it really is just light enough to give you something, but not to be too chunky. And I love the way that looks. So this is probably my easiest product to use, to be honest. I mean, that didn't take me much at all to fill that in because I'm pretty much done. Okay, so I am back and I got both of my brows done. This has been one of my favorite pens. I'm just gonna say that up front. I will get into the differences between this and all the others that I'm testing in this video. That's it for this brow pen. Let's go ahead and jump into the next brow pen. Okay, so let's jump into the final brow product that we're going to be testing in today's video. We are going to be talking about the Anastasia brow pens. These just recently launched a couple of weeks ago. I have been kind of playing around with them. This is not my first time playing with them. So I actually have two shades. This is soft brown and this is medium brown. You can definitely tell a difference between these two. Unlike some of the other shades that I have, these ones are definitely different. This one's a little darker. This one's lighter, but a little bit warmer. This is a little bit darker with a little bit of a cool tone. This one has a little bit of a neutral. It's kind of not too warm. It's not too cool. It's just kind of neutral, but this one's definitely warm. My plan is I'm going to use the medium brown on the outer edge and the soft brown in the front. I'm going to start with the medium brown and we're just going to add some hairs right here on this outer tip and then right up on the arch. Now this pen you have to be a little careful with because the pen, the actual tip itself is much thicker than some of the others that I've tested in this video. So you really have to be very careful in taking tiny little strokes. If you go in too heavy with this, you're gonna get a thick stroke. And if you get a thick stroke, just grab your spoolie and run it through it quickly and it'll kind of like dispense the product. And I'm going to grab the soft brown and I'm just going to come in and kind of create some strokes here in the front. So I'm done with the brows. I'm going to leave them here. Being that I use pens consistently, this is one of my least favorites as far as the pen goes, because you get so much color. Now that could be good for some people and not for some. So let me show you. When I make a stroke, they're a little bit thicker than I want. It's really hard to make thin strokes with this. You have to be super, super light-handed. And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna do a thicker stroke. Now, for those that are like me and like the natural hair stroke, this is probably not the pen for you. But for those of you that want the pen, you want the longevity, you want the waterproof formula, and you don't care if you have strokes per se, then this might be a good option for you because you notice that it filled in really quickly. So you can almost use it as a pencil because if you make that stroke and it's thick, it's still wet. So if you go in with a spoolie while it's wet, you can really brush it through the brows quickly. And it can also kind of give you more of like that penciled look where it's all the way filled in versus having the gaps in the skin like you would if you had like the natural pen, if that makes sense. So it's all going to be based on what you like. I like a tiny, tiny, tiny little brush that really gives me strokes and I can kind of feather it in. But I will get into all of that later on in the video and all the differences with this brow pen compared to some of the others. So for now, let's go ahead and jump into all of the images that I took of all these pens and the shades and all of that. And then we will get into my final thoughts. Okay, so the time has come and I'm finally ready to give you guys my full thoughts when it comes to all of these brow pens and which one I like. We're gonna break them all down. So we're gonna start from least favorite to favorite. So my least favorite has to be the Anastasia. Now, the Anastasia, you know, these seem to have a really good rating. And for me, being that I like more of a thinner hair stroke, I think that's the reason why these come in last, because the pen is a little bit thicker. The hair stroke is a little bit harder to get a small, tiny hair stroke. It's just a little bit too thick for my liking. However, like I mentioned in the tutorial with this pen, if you like something that's just easy to kind of put on and you want to use this as more of a pencil where you're covering more landscape, if you will, in a quicker manner, then you might really like this. It's not my personal favorite. If you like a hair stroke and you like a fine hair stroke, this is my least favorite. So the fourth place is this one from Benefit. I just don't love this one from Benefit. I typically don't like this. Now, I will say this one is much easier to use than the one from Milk Makeup. I actually have the one from Milk Makeup. So I just went looking for the one from Milk Makeup and I actually can't find it. I might have given it to my daughter or I don't know what I did with it. So the one from Milk Makeup is a little bit thicker of a point. And so the three prongs are just too thick to look very natural. So the one thing that I will say that Benefit has going for them when it comes to this is that they're really finely tipped. I mean, they're really kind of the right shape for it, but I kind of just prefer, for me personally, I prefer a single stroke. I don't know, if you're a beginner, I don't know that I would suggest using these. I think these might be kind of harder for you to use. I would recommend these to people who are pretty familiar with brow pens and you really know how to create those strokes, because you got to get the right angle when you're using a product like this. And if you don't get that right angle, it's not going to be very natural. In fact, that's probably my least favorite about this product in particular. So I don't love this. I kind of wish they would have just released a brow pen in their shades, because Benefit has great shades. I wish that they would have just released one single pen, like just one tip, versus the three prong. So the next three on the block, this is a little bit harder for me, because the Glossier pen has been my favorite for a while. I just don't like the shades. I wish that they would launch more shades. We need more than 3 shades. We need some with a little bit more undertones, whether it's cool or warm. There's not a huge difference between the brown and the blonde, and it's kind of frustrating. I love the tip on this though. Out of all of the pens that I have, the tip on the Glossier is my favorite. I love how small and thin the tip is, and you can really just create small little strokes that are so easy. And I just wish that they released more shades. That's the reason why I'm ranking this third. If they had like 5 or 6 shades in this, it would probably be my top favorite. I'm basing my opinion on this brow pen alone based on the shades. The pen works great. The formula works great. It doesn't dry out as easy as some of the others. It's a great, great formula. A fabulous formula. But they just need more shades. So it comes in third place. I have the Brow Blade from Urban Decay, and I also have the Bushy Brow from Lime Crime. I actually really like the Bushy Brow from Lime Crime, but I also really like the Urban Decay. Let me tell you the differences between these two. So the thing about the Urban Decay that I don't like is the shades are extremely dark. Very, very dark. And I think that's why they get such a bad rating, because the pens are too dark. I actually bought the lightest shade in this Brow Blade when it first came out and gave it to my daughter, and she was a blonde at the time and she couldn't use it. It was too dark for her. Taking the shades out of it, I love the tip on this. Fabulous tip on it, you guys. It is amazing. If it wasn't for that, this would probably be my #1 favorite brow pen. Now, because of that, I have to give it to the Lime Crime Bushy Brow. This is a great brow pen. Now, I bought these on the Lime Crime website. There are several places that you can get them. The tip is fantastic. The shades are amazing, and they have a wide variety of shades with great undertones. So they did it right. Lime Crime nailed it. They have great shades, and I am so impressed with the formula, the longevity, that they haven't dried out. The first pen I bought was probably about 3.5, maybe 4 months ago, and I've been kind of playing around with it. And I really love the formula. It hasn't dried up on me. Same experience with the Brow Blade in the Urban Decay formula. Now, I did mention in the beginning, the first experience in Brow Blades was with the MAC, and I really liked that MAC brow pen, but it dried out too quickly. The MAC Shape and Shade Brow Tint. When I was using the MAC one, I was replacing it about once a month. And with these others, they'll last me like 2 or 3 months. So I really appreciate when the formula doesn't dry out in these markers, because it's something you also need to take into consideration when you're, thinking about buying them. Lime Crime nailed it with all of the shades. They nailed it with the formula. They nailed it with the tip. And I'm really surprised. I don't have any makeup from Lime Crime, so this was my first purchase from Lime Crime overall, and I was really, really impressed. Personally, I think Lime Crime is the full true winner out of all 5 of the ones that I've spoke about in today's video, but also keep in mind this is from my perspective and what I like and what I look for when I'm using a brow pen, and this just kind of came in number 1. So that's it for the video. I hope that this video was helpful for you. It took me a long time kind of doing all of these different brow tutorials every single day I was getting ready, and I started this journey about 2.5 weeks ago, and I hope that this video was helpful. Sound off down below. Do you own a brow pen? What is your favorite brow pen, and why do you love it? Your guys' input and feedback is so helpful for everybody in the comments section. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I really enjoyed doing this, and I think the next thing I'm going to start is mascara. I really want to dive into a lot of these mascaras and dive into a lot of the new formulas that are coming out on the market. I want to give them a really good full test. So keep your eye out for that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope that you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.